the first thing you got to do is just be yourself. The moment you start doing that, you're going to unlock your superpower. The moment you start being somebody else, like we always are taught to do, is the moment you fail. So
hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Inspired. Today we are here with the highest energy individual I may have ever come across. Someone who has invested in themselves, builds up the people around them, focuses on the future, is on a mission that is unequivocally one of the most badass, inclusive, and exclusive things that I've ever seen someone attempt to try and actually is succeeding at. And it's really incredible to welcome the cover boy of the Forbes 30 Under 30 and co-founder of Midday Squares, which we have right here. Please welcome to the show, Mr. J. Karls. How are you today, sir?
Jonathan, brother, I appreciate that. I love that intro. That shit is like red carpet style. Cameras are out. You know, there's so much momentum, so much energy. No, I'm fired up. It's sunny here in Montreal, and I just got back from a 7-day, literally crazy trip. So I'm like exhausted but fired up to have this conversation, and I just appreciate your energy, man. I think that what I've noticed about you for the time I've known you, very little, is you truly are authentic, and I think that that's something that I try to surround myself with those kind of people. So I'm excited about this conversation.
Thanks, man. I really do appreciate that, especially coming from the most authentic type of dude I may have ever come across. And, I kind of want to start off by asking, there's this, I'm sure everyone at this point is very familiar with your background and the story of Midday Squares, but there's a theme that you embrace that I really appreciate, and it's this concept of building out loud. Can you talk to the audience about what that means and how you're going about executing it?
So if you look at the greatest leaders, if you look at very successful leaders around the world, whether it's in business or in politics, you'll see that a lot of them actually commonly build out loud. What they do is they tell their story out there. They put it all out there, good, bad, ugly. And what it does is it creates mass amounts of awareness consistently. It keeps you on the top of people's mind almost 24/7. And what I've taken, from the most is Elon Musk, for example. He has built Tesla by using himself as the marketing tool. Yes, he has electric cars and he's revolutionized that whole concept and made it kind of cool, but he's a machine. The guy's a personality. He's completely weird and fun, and he himself has built a fan base by building out loud, good and bad. Either people love or hate him, but all he needs is that 50% of love, and he could build billions of dollars of businesses because, again, you don't need everybody in this world. You just need a select fan base that cares about you, loves you, and wants to be around you and support you. So for me, I took from all these leaders around the world, I was watching them, and I said, why can't that be applied now to a CPG product where, we build out loud, we show everything. And I'm talking about edgy shit, crazy shit, things that make you feel uncomfortable potentially. And what that will do is it will evoke emotions, either hate or love, for us as a business or us as individuals. And if you don't like us, great, move on. It doesn't bother us. If you love us, you're here for the long run. You're cheering us on. You're rooting for us. You're telling people about us. You are basically becoming a fan of what we're trying to do. And that fan can go a lot longer than just a customer.
Something else that's been super cool about this whole building out loud theme is the energy that you bring, which I know you get commended on a lot, but being that I'm an attorney, I'm focused on something kind of unique and in particular about something that you've shared with your audience, and that's the lawsuit with Hershey. So, which ironically happens to be around, which I'm holding in my hand here, the peanut butter flavor. Can you talk to us a bit about your strategy in combating this, in my opinion, ridiculous lawsuit?
Yeah, dude. So In 2021, we were in talks with them for transactional stuff, M&A stuff, and long story short, we're not trying to sell the company right now. We're trying to build it to be, a new version of a chocolate conglomerate. Think what would like Mondelez look like today if they started. That's what we're trying to build, or what would Mars look like, right? And conversations were going great. We were very transparent, very honest that we're continuing to build. We believe we could build this past, whatever they thought we could build it to. And they loved the peanut flavor. They really did. They were the big fans. Nothing was wrong with it. And after we politely said that this conversation's we have no reason to go further in this conversation, they hit us with that cease and assist letter regarding the color orange and basically said, if you don't change it in 2 weeks, think it was 2 weeks. I can't remember the exact dates, but we're going to have to go to court and actually, and battle it. And the truth was we could have won the case if we went to court. It just would have been a very rigorous, long process that they've continuously settled with people over time. So the precedent's been set, not in our favor, believe it or not. And for us, we didn't have the budget or time or money to go fight against a giant who, to be honest with you, I'm a fan of the company. I like them. I think that, they built a legacy brand. Milton Hershey did a phenomenal job building the Reese brand, building the, cookies and cream, milk chocolate, whatever you want to call it. But for us, I said to my partners at the time, I said, guys, we're not just changing the package and moving on. That's what everyone does. They settle, they do all that stuff, and they quiet themselves down. I said to them, we're fucking bold. We're going to be bold and we're going to be authentic. So what did we do? Because we document everything, we build out loud, we share almost 99% of our stuff with our customers. I said, we're going to share why we changed our packaging color slightly, even though it's not the same orange as the peanut butter Reese. It's different. We're going to change it because I don't want to have the headaches of going to court for many years. And we're going to explain that it was a David versus Goliath. It's big company is a little threatened by small company. And we shared that story and everyone started freaking out about it. Everyone was like, wow, this is crazy. This is wild. And it started to build more fandom. Then we went one step further. We spent about $70,000 recording a music video, a diss track, basically saying we're Midday Squares. We don't want to be you, Hershey, so stop trying to think that we want to. We do things like this. You guys don't. And we released that and it got picked up in the media, got published a bunch of articles. It actually helped us launch the United States for our company. And till this day, it gets brought up, honestly, weekly. And it was a really bold moment where Hershey's did see it and they didn't do anything about it because they realized that storytelling, content, and social media is a very powerful tool right now. And the fandom was swinging not to Hershey's side on this situation. It was swinging to Midday Squares' side. So this is the prime example of what you discussed earlier, Jonathan, about building out loud. We built out loud through a technical legal case, potentially, and it worked in our favor because it was truth. It was real. This wasn't bullshit. This is exactly what's happening. Let's just share it. And in the end, it's all Gucci now. You're still holding up that peanut butter flavor right then and there. And it's a memory of ours that will be there forever. And I hope one day I could show my kids saying, hey, I had to learn how to sing a song and I was so bad, and they could laugh and joy about it.
I think the other cool thing about the Midday Squares brand is how you guys went about disrupting and coming onto the scene. In all of the research that I've done and all of the review of the content and appreciation for the brand, you alluded to it earlier when you talked about storytelling. You did this immense analysis of talking about the chocolate industry as archaic. And I found that to be oh my God, he's so right. How did you kind of come to that conclusion and where did that springboard you next in this journey of building Midday Squares?
So I think there's two important parts to this. So you said it right. It is archaic. The chocolate industry is $142 billion annually globally, which is huge. It's massive. It's one of the biggest snacking categories in the world. And chocolate, there's no need for education, right? A chocolate bar is a chocolate bar, whether it's healthy or unhealthy. But we knew going into this that we wanted to go into a saturated market, a very, very saturated market. But what we created within that saturation was an innovation. So we took dark chocolate, real chocolate, that was growing really fast year over year over the last couple of years. And then we took plant-based ingredients and said, that's on a tear. Let's just make a baby of these two massive already growth categories. And that will be an innovation within this massive category that people don't need education for. So that was the first thing. The second thing is the chocolate world has been dominated by about 5 to 7 brands or 5 to 10 brands over the last 120 years. So it's I realize people don't want to build these new style of these chocolate companies because the infrastructure and supply chain is completely almost impossible to build, almost impossible. And I get it. It costs a lot of money, a lot of pressure, a lot of time, a lot of the right talent, and there's a lot of roadblocks that get in your way. And the bigger companies, which I have nothing against, by the way, I'm big fans of a lot of them, they have built the infrastructure. They have the infrastructure for themselves that is immensely, it's amazing, to be honest with you, and it's inspiring that they were able to build that. But why can't somebody now come in and redo that infrastructure, rebuild it for the next generation, or rebuild it in the way that today's consumers care about products, what they want, and give it to them? but making sure that you're building that infrastructure on the back end. For us, building a refrigerated item, so we're a fresh item, is extremely hard to scale in mass, right? So we had to build our own manufacturing plant. We had to understand how to do the distribution model through, old school ways of distribution, and now modernizing that through different ways of using our teammates and merchandising and DSD stuff. But long story short, our whole goal was, can we redefine the chocolate world? Can we be the next legacy brand, the next one that's lasts the next 100 years? And there's no yes or no answer if that's going to happen, but I could sure as hell tell you that we're going guns blazing. We die on this hill, and that's the only way we're going to lose, if we die on the hill. Otherwise, we're going to climb hopefully to a unicorn business in this chocolate space and be that new version for the next gen and our generation to be proud of and excited about.
It's really like you hear the vision that comes through in everything that you talk about. And I'm curious, is that something that from day one when the idea was pitched to you, you saw it all flash before your eyes, or is this something that's kind of developed over time?
So for me, I didn't see the vision. When my partners asked me to be the third partner, I looked at them and I said, I don't know. They told me that we were going to do $250,000 in our first year of business. I was like, there's no way we're selling that much chocolate. And I just couldn't see it because I was like, you know how much work it takes to get into the grocery store, get it there, sell the product, get the awareness. The product goes bad in 100 days, so you have 100 days to sell the product. I said, there's no fucking way. And at the time, the only reason why I joined was because I believe my two other partners as entrepreneurs. They're very good entrepreneurs, very good operators. But the second thing was, at the time, I was depressed, man. I got canned by my ex-girlfriend at the time, and after a 3.5-year relationship, and I was in this weird state where I was transitioning from a business that just went bankrupt that I had, and I was my ego was hurting. So I was in this weird, perfect storm of I needed something to keep me busy, and this was the opportunity that kept me busy. So all I did was stay focused, narrow focused on midday squares only, nothing else in my life, and just go with the flow of the vision that my sister, my brother-in-law came up with. And then as year 2 came, I started to actually believe this was possible because I started to see how this brand is, how we are disrupting, but also the data that's coming through and the idea of once you learn how to tell a story and build an innovative product, if you have those two things, you are unstoppable as long as you have the energy to keep and fuel to keep going and the momentum. Because there's a lack of innovation in this world, and then there's a lack of great storytelling. So if you do both those really, really well, you are an outlier. So there's not many brands that do it. Nike does a good job. There's some other brands out there, but in our food and beverage world, there's maybe 10 total, 10 products on 40,000 products in a grocery store. Think about that.
I have a dear friend that I went to flight school with. His name is Sam Rockwell, and he's also a CEO of a company called Happy Foodie. They did a nice collaboration with One Bite. And something that he said when he came on the pod that stays with me is that when you know what you stand for in the market, you can add value to anyone or to anything. So, Jake, what do you stand for, man?
I stand for you. We want to show that you can win by being you. And I know it sounds cheesy and whatever, buzzwords and all that stuff, but the truth is the way we're building Midday Squares is truly staying true to our gut and not following the herd. And I think that if we could build this unicorn business by doing that, then we'll have shown people that you can just do it by being yourself and be proud of who you are. And, for us, with the Hershey thing, most people wouldn't have done that, right? But our gut told us to do that. So the more and more we get stronger with our gut, the more we're going to be bolder and more of an outlier, right? Good or bad. But at least that we can inspire people to be a little bit more bold in their life, take a little bit more risk, be a little bit more themselves instead of staying in that square box that we all get put in, unfortunately, through, society and, how we grow up. I think that that's something that we stand for. And I hope to continue to do that. The moment I stop doing that is the moment I've failed and I've lost.
I also appreciate in the same vein that there is a particular label that or category, probably more accurately, that Midday Squares falls into. And most people can conflate what the product is with something like Perfect Bar or a protein bar or something else. But in your own words, what is a Midday Square? Functional
chocolate bar. And all it is it's your 2 p.m. snack that's an indulgence dark real chocolate that keeps you full for 2-3 hours with good clean ingredients. It's that simple. We don't want more education. We don't want to put all these niche stuff in it. It's simply just a clean label chocolate bar that has protein and fiber and keeps you full. And I think that simplicity has allowed us to have a lot of success in that space where there's a ton of protein bars, there's a ton of dessert bars. There's a ton of just plain chocolate bars. But what's really unique about our product is the texture is a 2 layers. So this is why we have to build our own manufacturing, is because the bottom is a brownie bottom, and then on top it's slapped on like a Lindt chocolate bar, right? So when you bite into it, it's a 2-layer bite. And most manufacturers, co-manufacturers, were unable to make the two together. They're able to make one or the other. So the protein bar brownie bottom or the chocolate bar top, right? They couldn't, the machines aren't used to doing the two. So that's why we had to go spend about $4 million building a facility here in Montreal, Canada, to support this scale of this innovation.
So you have a unique role over there. Can you tell us a bit about what you do?
I call it a rainmaker, and I think in the legal world and the banking world, they might have rainmakers. So what I do is I'm very independent of Midday Squares in the sense of I do what I need to do to get what I need to get done. So what that means is I don't have rules or anything, but what I do is I make friends with everyone. So people that can add value to the network of Midday Squares. So whether it's an investor, legal, retailer, buyers, new customers, journalists, my focus is to simply make friends via social media or via physical stuff and continue to build the brand, the noise of the brand. And that's what I do every day. I sit on social media, I create content, I go speak at tons of speaking gigs weekly. I go on TV, I go on the radio, I build the brand hype, and I meet people. And the more friends I make, the better it is for the brand, because those friends eventually help the brand. And if they don't, they're still my friend, but at least they come in from a warmth angle. If my sales team needs the buyer at Target, and I've already become friends with the Target buyers 7 months ago, it's a very easy intro to my team, right? With a warm heart, rather than coming in and pitching them. It's more like, I love you guys already. Let's do this.
It sounds like there's a time horizon element in that approach. I'm also kind of wondering, where's the line? How do you know when to stop talking friendship and start talking business without compromising the integrity of the relationship?
It's an art. So I spent 5 years doing this. So I've learned the approach has changed. At first, it was always sell, sell, sell. It's like an investor call. I was always pitching them. Then it became more like, hey, let's get to know each other. Let's hang out. I'll come see you in New York or Florida, wherever you are, Texas, California. I'll show up. We'll hang more. And then when the time is when we raise, I'll introduce you to my finance team. And I learned that approach, that you can't just come on so hard. And some people, the friendship shit doesn't work. People are just, they want snap of a finger, either black or white. For me, it's the balance of learning the individual first and seeing how they are, or how he or she is, whatever they like. I don't know what it is. So if I realize that, we want to do business with you on we want to get into your store, my first approach would be like, I want to learn from you. I want to hang with you. I want to get to know you. And then when the time's right, it's me doing an intro, but making them feel very comfortable. They don't have to do anything for us, and that will not change the relationship.
How is the health factor of all this developed? I mean, it's a healthy snack. You're a healthy individual. How does your training and your nutrition align with the product itself?
So definitely I'm a healthy guy. I always eat pretty clean. I do binge out on candy all the time, to be honest with you. But I think that for us, we made this product for ourselves. It's a chocolate snack that we wanted at 2 p.m. The three of us, they love chocolate more than I do, but the idea was they wanted this as their everyday snack, something that was clean, not too healthy to the point where it's on the extreme side, but in the middle of mainstream and healthy. And then, for me, I try to work out every day. Before I got hurt, my back, I was working out like 7 times a week, and I was crushing it. And it makes a difference because it gives you energy. It's a good brand image, all that stuff. But I actually burnt out 2.5 months ago. And that was a serious thing. And I worked way too hard, didn't process things, was unhealthy actually, in the sense of, going way too hard on myself and not listening to my body. And that was a big thing. I took a month and a half off of work because I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything because I was burnt out. I was really actually real burnt out. And then I realized that through this process, I just keep learning. Now I know tools and tips on to understand when that's happening. I learned how to listen to my body, what it feels like, what it's telling me. And all this stuff is just making me a better person and a more productive and efficient person. Because that's the point of life, is to just become a better human every day, right? And I would tell you that I wasn't so healthy on this journey because I was willing to sacrifice everything for this vision that we're trying to build.
So as an athlete, lot of what this podcast explores is the intersection between professional success, mental toughness, physical fitness. How does your training factor in to what has led to your success so far?
This episode is brought to you by Slate Milk. Slate Milk is a protein chocolate drink that gives you all the necessary energy after you have finished a hard training session, or also serves as an awesome snack, whether it's hot or cold. I commute 2 hours a day to my job, and every single day after I train, I'm looking for a quick snack or post-workout drink that I don't have to spend time making. So I go into my fridge, I take out my Slate, and I hit the road as fast as I can and enjoy my drink on the way to work. That's the way that I personally like to enjoy it, because there's so many different flavors. So in the morning, the mocha flavor with the caffeine definitely hits. I can also recommend you check out their other flavors. It is a phenomenal brand. They are the #1 partner of the UFC. You can actually go to their website, slatemilk.com, type in the code INSPIRED for 10% off your first order. So go ahead, type in the code INSPIRED at slatemilk.com to get 10% off your first order today. This episode is brought to you by ProMix. ProMix is an energy supplement brand that provides a whole plethora of different products, from protein cereal bars to protein shakes, probiotic, prebiotic, deep low products, along with electrolytes, and the list goes on. ProMix is the supplement that I go to for all of my health needs. It has been a game changer for me over the last few months. After the 1,000 pull-up challenge, my immune system was compromised in ways that were super uncomfortable. I kept getting sick, and I knew I needed to level up my game. I didn't place enough value on supplements, but I do now. I spent some time, I did my research, and ProMix is the brand that I decided to work with because my immune system is finally in check. So go check out promix.com and type in the code inside the inspired to get 20% off your first order today. That's right. Go to promix.com to get 20% off your first order today with the code inside the inspired.
Yeah, for me, I played sports my whole life, hockey, competitive hockey. It taught me how to deal with pressure. I was a goalie. So to be able to withstand pressure and perform under that was probably the most valuable asset I've learned that I've used to date. And then I see a therapist now once a week, every week, sometimes with my partners. Every second week it's with my partners now. And the idea is to become stronger and stronger mentally, because this is hard to do. Anything in life is hard, and if you're not prepped and you're not hyped up and you're not driven by purpose and your why and have that energy, you're gonna just fall. It's just gonna collapse. So I just focus on investing a lot in myself now mentally to be strong, because if you can't perform, then what's the point? If you're exhausted all the time and you're getting on planes and you're barely talking, you sound like you're completely out of your mind, you're not going to accomplish anything. You might be doing a lot, but you're not accomplishing anything. So what I focused on is therapy, reading, working out, and listening to my body.
It's a powerful strategy, and one that sounds like it's been cultivated through experience. And you mentioned pressure. I'm sure that in getting all this attention, all this hype, and all the energy that you're putting out there, you faced a lot of pressure. What are some of the ways that you've learned? You mentioned listening to your body. How are some of the ways you kind of compartmentalize or get your mind right so this way you can perform in meeting high-profile individuals and just handling all this attention?
So I think the key is blocking out the noise out there. There's a lot of noise where people tell you what to do. They give you advice, and they might love you and care about you so much, and they're great people, but they're not in the business necessarily with you. They're not in the moments with you that you have to go through, right? They're giving a piece of advice, and take that with a grain of salt, because if you listen to everything, you'll get so lost, you'll have analysis paralysis. That's number one. Number two is don't yardstick. Yardsticking is a dangerous game that we all get caught into, where you compare yourself to other individuals or companies or people, whatever it is, and you start to get off your game because you're so focused on that game, right? And that happened to me early on in this journey, and I realized that I'm playing my own game, and if I stay on that game, I'm going to give myself the best chance at winning. whatever winning means. It could mean building a large company. It could mean being more myself. And I think over time, trusting more and more your gut and following, who you are and what you want to do leads you just to more greatness. And what I do to do that is I simply just put myself in small, little more uncomfortable scenarios all the time. A little bit more, a little baby step. Boom. Get the feeling, see what happens. Then the next one, another baby step. Next thing you know, that compounds with serious momentum to you being able to do many uncomfortable things that you would have never thought you would ever do.
In growing this brand, you had some very humble beginnings. You alluded to the space that you were in mentally when you first started with Midday Squares. What I appreciate about the story around the company is that at the outset, you guys were hand delivering product. Can you talk to me a bit about what led to, just establishing that relationship with the customer and how you see it paying dividends or not today?
It paid huge dividends. Those are our OG fans, let's call it. So we would make product from 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. in my brother-in-law and sister's condo kitchen. And we would literally make 80 bars a day, and we were selling them at the time for 25 cents a bar. So that's $20 a day total for 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. And then because we couldn't afford shipping, we had no choice but to get in our cars and go deliver the product. So we'd go from 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. every day, hand delivering. And what that did was it got us to meet the people that were supporting us. That's number one, but also have real conversations with them. And then them seeing the hustle was something inspiring for them and proud of what they were able to support and saying, hey, these 3 young entrepreneurs are trying to give it their all with something, and they're not slowing down. And what it did is it created this momentum, this early virality in our city where people were just talking about it, posting about it. And next thing you know, orders went from 80 a day to 200 a day, 300, whatever. It kept going up. We kept hiring more people, but we kept hand delivering. And I actually was hand delivering for our first couple of retailers because I wanted to build a relationship, a friendship first with our managers, our store staff, and the buyers. That way, when we needed something, more stuff would get done. And that happened with Marché Tao, which is a great retailer for us, our first ever retailer here in Quebec, where we live. They took a chance on us, and I basically built relationships with every single level of their staff. And next thing you know, we went from 1 facing in the store from hand delivering to 10. And that 10 brought us up and built the brand up to, get started to where it is today. So I think that, those hand deliveries were everything. Without that, Midday Squares probably wouldn't be here today because the humanization is what makes a lot of the time a brand special.
And going off of that humanization element, it feels like people are buying from you. They're buying you and your sister and your brother-in-law. What does that mean when you interact with the customers? Are they fans? Are they, how do you kind of see the end customer in this lens now?
Our thesis at the beginning was, how do we make our customers feel like they're buying from a family member, a neighbor, or a friend when they go to that grocery store and they see us on the shelf? Because there's 40,000 products in a grocery store. So, it's very hard to separate yourself unless you're buying up all the shelf space. But, small businesses can't afford millions of dollars to spend on just placement. So what we did was we just basically started telling that story on social media and showing up in person and doing a lot of these things where we built the fandom, the friendship, which then turned into people going to the store and be like, I know Jake, Nick, and Leslie in the Midday Squares team. I love Midday Squares. So our product would shine bright like a diamond, and then those people would go acquire us more fans by telling them about us, right? So I would say that it's super important to do that. I would say it's super important to build those relationships deep because they really pay off. And I could tell you a lot of our retailers that we've gotten to date have been from fans going to tell their spouses, hey, you got to buy this product for your stores. They're so good. The brand story is crazy. And yeah, we still humanize a bunch of stuff, obviously at a lot bigger scale. But it's something that will never leave us. That's a core value.
As the demand for the product increases, obviously there's a lot of growth. How are you forecasting and accounting for all of this growth?
Yeah. So my partner Nick is really good with finance and forecasting, and our CFO that we hired recently she's a rock star. So they take care of all that. We don't forecast too much growth because we own our manufacturing, and in order to scale it with the margin we need to hit, it's a balanced growth. So we can't just go jump 200% and be killing it, because our margin will get killed because of the amount of speed it has to take, right? So it's an art game. It's balancing growth from 50 to 100% year over year, and just hitting those numbers and keeping the margin keep going up, going up, going up. Because with more margin, more money comes in, and we can invest more money into the company to growing the brand, right? So that's the game we're playing. And forecasting has been difficult because this set is not fully developed even yet. And with food, you don't just go into a store because you want to. You have to wait for the review to happen, which could take every 6 months or up to a year. So your product to get into a store.
It's funny. It reminds me of another time I had one of my friends on from law school on the pod. His name's Dan Azani. He's an MBA agent. And one of the topics that he brought up was similar to what you just said. He always understood how to grow proportional to where he was at. So when he was first starting out, he wasn't trying to get MBA agents day one. He started out getting players out in Africa, and then China, and then Europe, and then the NBA, and then draft prospects, and now his business has obviously grown. So I definitely appreciate how you've recognized where you're at and grown proportionally. So what do you see next for the brand as you continue to develop?
Right now we're focused on becoming the number one across the country in the US in our space. We're up there in the natural sets, but now we want to do that in the mainstream grocery stores. We still have a lot of retail to cover and a lot more awareness to cover, so we're focused on that. And then eventually we want to head to maybe UK, Mexico next, one of those two countries, and go build it, because we want to be a global brand. So that's number one. And number two, from a media standpoint, we potentially want to have a docuseries on like a Netflix or a Prime or an HBO, showing the behind the scenes of how we built this business to, we call it the road to 100 million, but that's what we're curious to do. That's the future, in my opinion.
So is Midday Square is also going to be some form of is it currently a media company? Is that how you would also kind of categorize it?
So we're half media, half chocolate manufacturer. Under one roof.
And in that strategic approach, how do you see the media company growing relative to the in-house operations and chocolate aspect?
The media company side gets us the attention of the consumer, which is super important. Then the product has to continuously innovate and be great in order to get the repurchase. So it's a flywheel that needs to be aligned with one another. That being said, who's to say that we won't help brands one day with their media side, because that's a whole business in itself, right? And we've been approached already to help people. And, right now the focus is just build the chocolate company to where it needs to get to. But in the end, you never know where that media component could take us.
That's a big part of what I was thinking you were getting at, because the storytelling aspect you've obviously embraced and encapsulate in everything that you do. And like we said, people are buying you. So what's it been like to get all this attention, and also to, prime yourself for all of these keynotes and these speaking opportunities? How are you prioritizing, and how do you know what to talk about every single time you get on stage?
Yeah, dude. I always like to tell people, like, media is, number one, it allows you to get the emotion into the customer, right? So we treat our business like a political rally, as if we're running for election every day, because why not? If you're not out there and you're not making people feel something to get them to want to submit a vote for you or buy your product, then you're missing the point. You have the ability with social media to get into people's eyes and ears, and they can opt into what you're saying. If you force it down their throats, they're not going to like it. But if you create something that's emotionally, valuable, or something that it hits them deep with the, deep sadness, deep anger, deep happiness, deep positive energy, they're going to stay with you as a business. So for me, like, I go give these speeches where it's a fucking rally, man. It's literally like as if I'm giving a speech for hype. It's not. It doesn't even have to do with anything. Sometimes it has to do with nothing. But it's just this energy and this positivity. And what happens from that, it gets people inspired by the company and be like, hey, I want to support this brand. So we do that on a daily basis. We're doing groundwork and media work all together to grow this business. So not traditional in terms of our CPG world, but we're taking a different approach.
What does it mean to you to be on the cover of Forbes for the 30 under 30 this year?
It was always, I always looked up to Forbes 30, and it was something that 10 years ago I wanted to be on. So it was a surreal moment to actually be part of it. And Forbes has helped me a lot with certain things, the networking and, speaking events and all this other stuff. And yeah, it was surreal, and it's just another stepping stone that hopefully, like I said, I can hopefully accomplish a lot more. But Forbes has definitely been a big part of my journey, and a moment that I was proud of. So, yeah.
And how about some advice for aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are looking to get to where you're at?
The first thing you got to do is just be yourself. The moment you start doing that, you're going to unlock your superpower. The moment you start being somebody else, like we always are taught to do, is the moment you fail. So you might as well take a chance, step into that zone of discomfort that makes you be more you, and then you'll start to see doors open up like you've never seen.
There's a question that, in conclusion, I always like to ask guests on this podcast, and now I'm going to pose it to you. If the version of you 10 years from now is in your ideal spot, what advice do you think he would offer you today in order to get there?
Stay focused. Stay focused on what makes you great, because I get caught up in some things and, different opportunities, different this, that, and it takes me off my game. So I think that myself in 10 years would tell me, make sure to stay focused on what makes you great and stay true to that, and don't veer off.
Jay, can you please tell the audience where everyone can find you?
www.middaysquares.com. We have a bunch of store locators on there. We're located in the refrigerated section of every store: Target, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Fresh Market, you name it. Anywhere in Canada has it as well. Or add us on social media, Midday Squares on TikTok. That's our biggest platform. Instagram, LinkedIn, or add me on LinkedIn, Jake Karls. Happy to have a conversation. Just hit me up in the DM and let's get some grooving going.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jake Karls, thank you for making the time today, sir.
Jonathan, I appreciate you, brother.
My pleasure.